Hey guys, Steve here, Fanatic Perspective. Free agency Cowboys talk. Let's get right to it. A little frustrated, so this may turn into a rant. I don't really care at this point. As you guys have seen today, many teams are making moves, big signings. Kirk Cousins going to Minnesota, Sammy Watkins going to Kansas City, Allen Robinson going to Chicago Bears, I believe. All over the leagues, guys. Working around their rosters, making some key signings and whatnot. And this isn't to say that I am advocating that the Cowboys go out and chase free agents and chase, splash signings all over the place, similar to how what the Redskins did in 2000 and some of these other teams. And even what the Cowboys have kind of gotten burned on many, many years ago. But at the same token, you can't sit pat. You can't sit there with your hands folded and say, well, our cap situation's tough. Well, we don't have the money. We're just going to sit pat and draft players and hope that we develop some more guys. That's not a winning mentality. And if you look at the good teams across the league, excuse me, my allergies are terrible, but if you look at the good teams across the league, the Patriots, Packers, Saints, everybody's getting in the mix today. Or have even people that have tough cap situations, they're making trades. They're on the phone. They're trying to be aggressive. How is it that the Cowboys have had bad cap situation year after year after year, even going back to when Tony Romo signed that extension, and we've had this just tight ass cap the whole time, but the Eagles can fix their cap situation in 2 years with Howie Roseman? I don't understand this. I really don't. And it's part of it is Jerry and this organization falling in love with certain players and being too loyal to certain guys in certain positions. And the other thing is, it goes back to what Bryce Butler said when he was dropping bombs on people in the earlier in this offseason, when he stated we like to put people in boxes. Very similar to how we put people in boxes with our game plan and how if you catch a deep ball, well, we're only going to throw you a deep ball. If you're a slot guy, you're only going to do this and all this type of stuff. We actually have that same line of thinking in our organization when it comes to building a roster and how we do it in terms of our philosophy. Our philosophy has become we draft and develop and we pay the people that are homegrown players. We try to find undrafted guys. And then we got to do like the bargain basement hunting with free agency and go from there. And the issue with that strategy is actually there's several issues there. Number one, you have to hit on 80% of your draft picks at a high amount of your draft picks if you want to take along that philosophy and getting good instant turnaround. And they've gotten that with a lot of players. We can go down the list. But at the same token, now you're a situation where you got a first round pick, 2015 or 2014 or whatever, in Byron Jones, who's now having to change positions because he's struggling at the position that you needed him to fill in for, which in turn has messed you up across your roster because now you have Orlando Scandrick, who you can't trade. You're going to have to cut him. He's asked for a release, but you can't cut him until after June 1st. And now it's like we can't even tie up some of that money to go after and fill some other holes. Another issue with the strategy is I've noticed that if the Cowboys make a mistake with something, they get burned by it so much that they don't go back to it. For example, trading. I truly believe that since that Roy Williams trade, I think that was 2010 or 2011, when they traded the 2 first-round picks and gave up a whole bunch when they got Roy Williams from the Lions. I believe since they got burned with that deal, that they're just out to trading. And the same thing with the undrafted stuff, because they hit on Tony Romo, because they hit on Miles Austin, even a guy like Jay Ratliff, and they have had some success with some undrafted guys, that they're so vested in that. Like you'll see after the draft, we'll run the game on undrafted guys and trying to find those sleepers and all of that, and even Lael Collins is another example, but you can't, that's the exception, not the rule. You still need to go out and you have to take a holistic approach. All these teams are the Patriots are making trades. The Patriots are leveraging the draft the same way we are. They do leverage free agency. They signed Stephon Gilmore last year. They went out and got a Brandon Cooks. Look at the Eagles today. They're going out and getting a Haloti Ngata. And yes, he's way past his prime, but he's still a very good nose tackle and somebody that fills a hole on their defense, especially putting him next to a Michael Bennett that they've also just acquired because they're being aggressive. They're being creative. They're like, hey, somebody's about to get, we might cut somebody. Let's work the phones. Let's see what's out there. Let's be active and figure out what's going on. I don't see any activity from the Cowboys. And I'm even looking at some of the money that's tied up to certain players. So we have $8.9 million in dead money to Tony Romo this year. We have $9.1 million to a player in Tyrone Crawford who had 27 tackles and 4 sacks last year. $9.1 million. $6.5 million to Jason Witten, who is a below average tight end at this point, Cowboys fans. It pains me to say that, but he is not a starting caliber tight end for what we need to do. And that's $6.5 million. Same with Terrence Williams, who we just re-signed last year, $6.5 million. That's wide receiver money. That's money that you can spend and move around. We're talking about Dez, and yes, Dez is owed $15-16 million, but everyone's like, cut Dez, and we have all these other pockets of money where we're not being creative. You might have to, like, why aren't you picking up the phone and saying, hey, let's see what we can get for somebody like a Tyrone Crawford? Or is it because no one wants to trade for him, there's no value there, whatever? You just drafted Taco Charlton last year. You have DeMarcus Lawrence, who you just re-upped. You have David Irving, who you're going to tender. Who knows what's going to happen with Charles Tapper and the other guy, Randy Gregory. But I don't understand why somebody like a Tyrone Crawford at $9.1 million, we can't get creative like, say, the Eagles are doing and potentially move somebody like that. I mean, you can't be loyal to everybody. I remember when the Patriots moved Richard Seymour when he was still an elite player. I mean, we're just loyal to we're even loyal to our kicker. Our kicker's making $4.2 million. He had a horrible end of the season. We don't know if he's ever going to be right again. Part of that was due to injury. But hey, I'm sorry. This is not a loyalty business. I like Dan Bailey. Appreciate everything he's done. But if he can't be at the all-world level, then I'm not paying a kicker $4.2 million. You can get production elsewhere. That's not the only kicker that's ever been good or could be good for the Dallas Cowboys. So, I mean, just $5.3 million to Orlando Scandrick, even $4.3 million to Cole Beasley, who will be a free agent, I believe, after this season. But then you have a guy like a Ryan Switzer. Like if I feel like if Ryan Switzer, if you feel like in your evaluations he's 90% of Cole Beasley, then move Cole Beasley and get that money off your cap, and you have Switzer for $900K. And then that's money that you can now go and use and fill a hole. Or even, hey, you tied up some of that money. You could have re-signed Anthony Hitchens, who's now gone, looking like he's going to be moving on to the Kansas City Chiefs. It's just creative thinking, creative financing. And we don't have that in our front office, and that's why I'm so frustrated today watching all this going on. It's not that I want to go out here and chase every single big-name guy, but I don't even hear my team in the mix, man. And meanwhile, I'm seeing my rivals, even the Giants are making trades and making moves. We're not making trades. We're not signing free agents. And I do anticipate us possibly making some moves in the draft, but we've also struggled when we haven't picked on the top half of the draft. I mean, the Taco thing is we're still unsure about. Byron Jones is now a question mark. The only time we've really hit later in the draft recently is Travis Frederick. So we have to take these things into account. We've had some blown second round picks. The tight end Gavin Escobar. So we're not hitting on every single pick in the draft to where you're like, we don't need to explore the free agency market. We got to be open-minded. We have to, wrap our minds around creative financing and figure out how to work this cap to be aggressive. Other teams are doing it. I need the Cowboys to do it as well. You guys let me know what you think in the comments. But it's crazy, guys. It's crazy. And I'll try to keep up with some more videos as more news drops in free agency. If the Cowboys do decide to get involved, I'll be here as you know. Thank you.